Hi, this is Cole Morris, your instructor for How to Profit by Preventing Healthcare Fraud. You know, it's 2021, and I thought it was time to update the course with a few more timely cases. So I wanted to bring this case to you. It comes out of Florida, and it deals with millions and millions of dollars. A very blatant. It's a classic. It's a classic healthcare scheme fraud, where a former employee was able to assist the federal authorities in recovering millions and millions of dollars of fraudulent monies that were paid through the Medicare, Medicaid system to these fraudulent operators. It's a classic case. Let's take a look. The person involved, the relator, the so-called whistleblower, is scheduled to receive about $4.6 million as a result of her assistance to protecting your tax dollars. So let's get after it. So this case hit the news in February of 2021 when a press release from the Department of Justice, the DOJ, announced this deal that occurred in Florida. It seems a local businesswoman pleaded guilty to criminal health care and tax fraud. In the course of the case, she agreed to pay $20.3 million in a civil settlement. The case was the direct result of a Qui Tam case filed by a former employee. As covered in our course, you'll recall there are several scams that are typical in healthcare fraud. These can include upcoding, delivering unnecessary medical procedures and equipment, charging for medical procedures and care that was simply not delivered, and of course, paying kickbacks and bribes and so on. In this case that we're looking at here, we include the fact that it had several co-conspirators. These can include, and did include, physicians, business managers. It can include medical coders, healthcare executives of all stripes, medical office managers, and many, many others. Students of the course know that fraudulent operators follow the federal money. In the recent past, this means chasing defense bucks. However, in recent decades, healthcare is our largest expenditure as a country. That is, after all, where the money is. It should be no surprise that COVID-19 expenditures will probably be the next bullseye that the fraudsters chase. In fact, we're already seeing the grifters climbing out from under their rocks. This case is typical because of its large scale. It is unbelievable how much money is involved with these healthcare scams. This case is an excellent example of how laws that incentivize whistleblowers can help uncover major frauds against the U.S. taxpayer. The False Claims Act, FCA, is an essential tool for the detection and successful prosecution of fraud and corruption. The case we're referencing today was filed in March of 2019 against Kelly Wolf and her healthcare company known as Regency Incorporated. So finally, this case is typical because it involves a former employee. As we mentioned in our course, How to Profit by Preventing Healthcare Fraud, as we learned there, that you need to be an insider to get the kind of information, get the kind of insight that you need to help the feds or other law enforcement agencies enforce the law. It takes a certain amount of expertise. That's why you're so important. It doesn't mean you have to be a physician or an executive. However, you have to have some kind of insider information that is unique to you that you can provide. It's very important. In the past, we've seen nurses, medical technicians, contracting folks, real estate agents, even people who schedule medical evacuation helicopters and ambulances have all been able to provide that kind of information to help arrest and prevent healthcare fraud. So keep that in mind. According to court documents, Wolf and her conspirators used Regency to establish dozens of DME supply companies, or rather, more accurately, DME fronts, using trickery and deception. The scheme involved placing the DME fronts in the names of straw owners. By concealing the true ownership of the fronts, Wolf's conspirators secretly gained control of multiple companies. With such control, they collectively submitted well over $400 million in illegal DME claims to Medicare and CHAMP VA, the Civilian Health and Medical Program of the Department of Veterans. $400 million. The conspirators relied on the guise of so-called telemedicine to explain the unusually high volume of claims, when in fact they had simply bribed doctors to approve them. In almost all cases, the doctors had no interaction, including telehealth interaction, with the patients, and they simply made up these appointments, made up these medical conditions out of whole cloth, and had no contact with the beneficiaries. So as we cover in the course, as you know, the FCA, the False Claims Act, allows whistleblowers, so-called relators, to file a Qui Tam legal action and claim or be rewarded with between 15 and 30% of whatever funds the government recovers from the fraudulent operators. So it can be a significant amount of money. But we all learn that in the course, and so I hope you give that a tumble. In this particular case, the Qui Tam relator will receive approximately $4,600,000 for a contribution to this case. Okay, so that about wraps it up. If you want to learn more about the False Claims Act and its very interesting history and what president created it and for what purposes, you might want to take the course, How to Profit by Preventing Healthcare Fraud. As is, learn more about the Qui Tam process. What is it? How do you go about filing a Qui Tam lawsuit? What do you look for an attorney when you're considering a Qui Tam activity? One important thing you need to kind of keep in mind is, you might even have been involved to some measure in the fraud. That does not automatically disqualify you from participating in a Qui Tam action and from receiving financial rewards for that action. It depends on your own situation and the particular circumstances, but it's something to keep in mind. So if you're interested in this kind of thing and want to get a handle on fraud and maybe even profit from it, you can check out the course. It's on Udemy exclusively, udemy.com. And again, the name of the course is How to Profit by Preventing Healthcare Fraud. I'm Cole Morris, your instructor, and as always, thank you for your time and your attention. I'm out of here.